My name is María Amenábar Farias, and I'm directing Romeo and Juliet. That's such a great question. I mean, there are so many people that say that casting is like 80% of directing, and they're onto something, because your job as a director becomes either so easy or so difficult based on the people that you are working with. And so the casting process itself is so essential, such a key point to the success of any production, in my opinion. Which is why I feel so fortunate to have such a wonderful cast for this show. They've made the process so wonderful and so easy. So yeah, going into casting, it kind of shows you not only, you know, the wide pool of potential talent out there and the different interpretations that one same character can have, but it also gives you a new understanding of all of those characters because you are seeing all these different interpretations. I actually work a lot in casting for my full-time job, and that is something that I bring a lot of what I learned from my time at ISF as a casting associate into that job, just learning to really celebrate the individuality of every single actor that we see audition. It's really cool because I get to really explore the areas that I'm the most interested in exploring in the project. I think, you know, Romeo and Juliet being one of the most known shows out there, it gives you the opportunity to really find your own take into it, because it's already so widely known by the general audiences, that you don't have to worry that much about, you know, our audience is going to be able to follow, because usually they already know what's gonna happen. So you get this opportunity to really play with the concept and with the story, with the message that you want to communicate. And so, you know, I've obviously been familiar with Romeo and Juliet since I was little, like most people have been. And like you said, I've assistant directed a production of it. I've seen many productions of it as well. And I've never seen a production that digs as deep into the stakes of the youth of the characters as much as I have always been interested in exploring. So being the lead director in this production here at ISF has given me the chance to really explore that. What does it actually mean that these characters are actually like 13 and 16? That is very different than, you know, a 25-year-old going through this journey. And you know, I've talked a lot about this in design meetings and in introduction meetings, but my concept really asks or challenges anyone who just dismisses Romeo and Juliet for being like foolish and young, you know, like they don't know any better, they only knew each other for X amount of days. It's really silly of them to act this way. And I really challenge that. I mean, I think when we're all young, we experience life a lot of the feelings for the first time, and so it's so heightened, and I think that's actually something so beautiful, and something that we should all kind of tap into in our adulthood. So I think, yeah, being the lead director in this production has given me the opportunity to actually explore that aspect of the story. Like when we grow older, I think we all fall into this trap of like, I need to behave like an adult, right? And whatever an adult is, might not be necessarily how we actually want to exist in this world, you know? Like I mentioned this in the introduction meeting too, right? But like I miss when I was little and I was able to just run outside barefoot and make friends with like whoever I saw, right? And that is something that as you grow older, you stop doing. You just start seeing the world very differently. And I think there is value in like re-exploring that inner child that we have and examining what the consequences are of letting society dull our light that we have inside us, you know? And I think that is exactly what we see happening to Romeo and Juliet in this story. The violence, the you know, toxic masculinity, or whatever, you know, society defines as that, especially as a manufactured construct. You know, I saw this incredible show in New York, off-Broadway, Exodus. And there's a line in there where Brian Keaton's character talks about how he, you know, when he was little, he just like loved everyone around him. And then he was kind of trained by society to be scared of those who looked different than him. And once he became an adult, he like challenged that belief. But that made me think a lot about how no one's born with an enemy, like actually, you know, that is all stuff that is trained or like taught to people of like, you shouldn't like this person because of X, Y reason, because they're not like you, because they're a different family in the case of the, you know, Montagues and the Capulets. But you see that in society so much, and that is the source of so much conflict, and it's just so manufactured. Like, it's just not based in anything actually real. And so, you know, we live obviously in a world where conflict is everywhere. And I think this show gives us the opportunity to welcome unity and acceptance and question those maybe like beliefs we might have that were just like taught to us and we just accept it about who we should like and we shouldn't like. Just like, again, you know, the Montagues were taught to not like the Capulets were taught not to like the Montagues, but there's no real reason why it's manufactured as is all conflict, I think. So it felt really urgent to me to explore that in this production as like, hey, we can all exist together. As a director, I really like to embrace the sense of play in the rehearsal room. I rarely come in with like, I almost never come in with like, this is how things must be, you know? It's very much like, I'll have an idea to guide us into, but I'm really open to like the actors' ideas, the designers' ideas, so we can build a show together. And I think opening that space has given us the opportunity to explore all these themes, especially, you know, I was just talking about the joy that comes from like embracing our inner child and our youthful energy, and that how that kind of contrasts the hate and the dread that exists in this show as well. And so we have, I think our team has found a beautiful way of balancing those, the youthful, joyful energy and hopeful energy versus the more like dreadful, dull energy in the rehearsal room, by just being open to both, existing in a conversation with both of those, but leaving it open in the rehearsal room to play with both. We are fully leaning into what both of those ends look like, because, you know, in order for one to really hit, the other one also needs to be very clear, right? It's I mean, the whole play, the first half is a comedy, the second half is a tragedy. And the only way that tragedy really hits is if the comedy really hits as well. So we've been, again, embracing that sense of play in the room to really highlight both in their own respective ways. Yeah, I mean, I have wonderful actors who are also like, oh my God, I think about Grace and Isaac, who play Romeo and Juliet, and the sense of play and youthfulness that they are finding in their characters, especially when they're doing scenes together, is so lovely and so touching. It brings you to this moment, like it truly takes me back to when I was like a teenager, having my very first crush and feeling like the world was just magical and technicolor. Which then makes the scenes, you know, when they are going through some harder things, so much more devastating, because I can relate to, you know, the joyful experiences that they are already portraying, and so I can also see myself in the hard parts, and that is what I'm hoping the audiences will also be able to do. The text is the foundation, right? Like, you gotta, I mean, obviously, you know, most Shakespearean shows you'll see nowadays will be cut, and this is no exception. This is, you know, I made a cut of the script, but I made sure that the cuts didn't like affect the story in any like significant way, that we still got everything that was key for our understanding of the characters' arcs. So I think relying on the text, Shakespeare's language, I mean, he obviously wrote in such a brilliant manner where he's kind of directing actors through his text. And again, having really smart actors, as we do, they really know how to navigate that text. So we are able to hold true to that. And having that strong foundation in the text then gives us the freedom to give it our own spin. Again, also knowing that this is a story that most people know also gives us that like liberty to play around a little. And by that I don't mean like obviously we're not changing the text, we're not changing the story, but we're exploring, let's say, some scenes a little more. We're like fleshing them out a little with like the action on stage, a little more than maybe that I have experienced in the past with other productions or film interpretations or whatever. But I think knowing that the text is there, the text is so rich and already does so much of the work for you that you feel comfortable to try things and make it your own. So I think there is a lot of freedom in that security of having a solid text, as Shakespeare writes. Yeah. Oh my God, yes. I actually, as you were saying that, I was thinking about my high school English class where we read Romeo and Juliet, and it was like everyone took turns in class reading, and it was just like monotone, like blah, 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 So already that is a change. When you come see it on stage, you actually see people who are so passionate about this text that bring it to life in such a, what seems an effortless way. I know there's so much work that goes behind it, but like truly when you see it, you're like, oh my God, that's so natural. It's so incredible to witness these actors with this text. I think everyone, even we all know the story of Romeo and Juliet. I think we all connect to it in different ways because we're all different human beings. And so going to see it at the theater, whether it's this production or any production, you're gonna get something different every time than just reading it at school or reading it by yourself. Just because it's different humans who are creating this piece together. And I really think our process has been very collaborative, and we have all brought a lot of ourselves into the process. Come see Romeo and Juliet. It's really, truly such a beautiful show, as I'm sure you know, but we are truly finding so much charm and whimsy and loveliness and youth in it that I am sure will take you back to your own childhood and to your first crush. And I just think that is such an exciting opportunity to rediscover the show that we all know through a new, exciting lens. So come see it.